All right, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about teardrops. So I don't know a ton about them. I'm learning as I go, but I will say I've done a little bit of research, read up on it a little bit, and as far as I can find so far, sometime in the 30s, somebody made plans for one, and it was put in a magazine, and it kind of just took off from there, and it got placed into other magazines. It became very popular. And the plans, I don't have the plans or picture, I can't show it because I don't own the picture, but I'll throw up a picture of a teardrop, kind of like the original. They were very small. They were pretty much just a bed on wheels, and they had the back of them would open up to give you your kitchen space outside of them, like a trunk would open. So there are they've come a long way, obviously, since then. But that's, and they were named kind of after their shape. They kind of look like a teardrop, as you can see here. And there are so many different brands out there. And I just took a few notes. SoCal Teardrop. They make one that's still that original style. The Little Guy makes that style as well, but they make a few different ones. They have the Tag, that's Tag with a G, and they also have the Tab, and that's with a B at the end. And the Tab model, I haven't looked into the Tag model, but the Tab model starts to get a little bit bigger. They do provide a kitchen area inside, so we looked at that a little bit, and but again, these are still very small. So if that's what you're looking for, then there are plenty of sites. Another one is American Teardrop. They also make that original style. And I'm going to put links to all these too, to the sites that I found, that you can just click and go and check these out to save you hunting them all down. Ultro has the, I think I'm pronouncing it right, again, the same teardrop style, shape roughly, but then theirs, the teardrop, like if you were looking at the back side of it, that actually raises up. So when you step inside, you have a lot more space. I really like those. They're pretty neat. They give you quite a bit of space, and have a lot of windows, so there's a lot of light coming in. But again, still pretty small. There's no, I think they have a shower. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at that much. But again, the floor space here is still very, very small in those. And for what we're going to do, it's going to be a little bit too small. So, excuse me. So they probably wouldn't work out for us. Maybe they have bigger models. Again, this is still the early stages of us looking. Cozy Cruiser. That's another one that makes the original teardrop shape and size. Again, pretty small. They've come a long way. Like I said, the original ones had just pretty much a bed inside and the kitchen on the outside. Now, they do have a few more amenities inside. Even these small ones, the bed can be put up into a table so you can sit down, and they have a little bit of a counter and a few little things. And then, of course, they work up from there. Some have a kitchen now with a 2-burner stove and a little small refrigerator. Again, still all staying with that same theme of the small teardrop, actual teardrop shape. Gidget Teardrop, they actually started to experiment with a slide out to get a little more space. And one of the ones I saw, if you look at the teardrop, the front where the tongue is, where you hook to your tow vehicle, the front of that, actually not the tongue, but the front of the teardrop itself slides out, which gives quite a bit more space inside. Again, still staying with that same traditional teardrop shape. But the more I was looking into it, we need to go a little bigger than that, because our plan is to be in this thing maybe months on end. So Little Snoozy, or Lil Snoozy, L-I-L Snoozy, they it kind of loses the teardrop shape. It's still pretty small like that. And so, that's an option that you can look at. It's looks like a fiberglass body from what I can tell. And I haven't seen really a floor plan inside. I really didn't look into it too much because, again, it's still probably too small for what we're looking for. But that's another option. So with that, those are all that traditional shape except for that last one I just mentioned, and spacing. They've gotten bigger. There's some more space inside than others. The one that comes closest that I would consider would be the tab, but so far the one I saw didn't have a inside shower, but I know they make them. I just haven't found one yet. But again, the table has to be put down for a bed, and then if you want the table, you got to take the bed apart. So that's still a little bit smaller than we want, but we're getting closer with those. And then I've already talked about these next couple here. Forest River, which makes the R-Pod, which we really like, a lot of the layouts on that. And Jayco Hummingbird. It's Jayco, they make the Hummingbird. It's very similar to the R-Pod. They have this very similar floor plans and layouts. And the Winnebago Mini Drop. Again, that's a similar layout and size. But actually I have a picture. Again, I think I've put this picture up on one of the other videos, but I'm going to talk a little bit different about it. If you look here, I have, and hopefully I'm not blocking it, I'm looking at the back of two R-Pods, and you can see one of them, the back slopes down much sooner. So it's again, I think they're just evolving. So that slopes down, you lose space inside because of that. And what they've done is some of the newer ones, the back comes out further and curves down. They're starting to evolve into more, I wouldn't say boxy, but they are certainly losing that teardrop shape. They're coming up higher in the front, and then they're going across further before they slope down. And you can see a transition here where one slopes down earlier than the other. So with the one that goes out here further and slopes down, again, you're gaining more space inside. So that kind of helps with that. And the Mini Drop, I think, I haven't seen the back of the Mini Drops or anything like that, but this is the one we actually have a picture on. And the Hummingbird, all I've seen is the one that has the larger back end. They didn't have the ones I've seen did not have the more traditional, quicker sloping back, which is fine because we want the bigger space anyways. The other one we saw is called an MPG. I won't put a link to this because I can't seem to find their site. I'm not sure if they even still make them, but it looks like they were made by Homeland. It's a Homeland MPG. It does fit the size range that we're looking at for a camper trailer. They are the bigger style. They're a lot like the Hummingbirds and the R-Pods, but I can't seem to find a site that's up to date or anything. Everything I find is like buying a secondhand one or anything like that. The only other one I forgot to mention on the smaller ones is the Airstream Base Camp. They do not have the teardrop shape. They're more of they curve on the front like this, a little boxy on the back, and they're called the Base Camp. Again, very small. But one thing about the Airstreams, I think the quality is probably fantastic on them. I don't know personally, other than everything I hear, but the prices are really up there. Even I think the Base Camp, one of the ones I was looking at, is like $40,000. And some of the R-Pods and the Hummingbirds, you can get those, $15,000 to $25,000, depending on what your options are. So that's kind of talks a little bit about it. I don't know a huge amount about the history of them, other than what I told you. A lot of people started making them based on the handyman magazines that were out, and people were posting plans to build them, and they just became hugely popular. And then they've evolved over time into a larger camper. So all the ones I talked about here, including the Jayco and Hummingbird, those ones they're narrower, so like 6 foot range. I think the teardrops might even be smaller, but so you'll see on those a lot of the fenders stick out and the wheels are exposed. The wheels stick out and they have a fender over them, which gives you your narrower body, which is great for towability, seeing, and all that, and of course the weight. And but what they did to counteract that is some of these now have slide outs in them. And I will say, I'll try to find a picture, but I had a picture of the slide out in on a Jayco Hummingbird, that when that slide out is in, there was no space to walk down. Hopefully I can find a picture, so if I have it, it'll be here. There was really no space. You had to shimmy sideways to get down from the door area down to where the bedroom would be without sliding the slide out. The Forest River R-Pod, we went in some of those with the slide outs, and they were still very accessible. So that was a huge point. If you're pulling into a truck stop or a rest stop, whatever, and you want to just get into the camper really quick and make something eat, you could do it with those very easy, without having to worry about putting that slide out. So that's another thing to think about. So where I was going with the fender thing, there was one other camper that's a step up from these, but it's still kind of an old-fashioned look. It's called the Vintage. I probably don't know if I have the whole name correct, but it's a vintage camper. But that one there kicks it out to the campers out beyond the wheels now, so the wheels are inside, so you get up to your 7 and 8 foot wide. Of course, the weight of them starts to climb. They do have one, I think it's under 3,000 pounds, so you can still, it's very towable with a very lightweight vehicle. So we're looking at that a little bit as well. And they got the retro colors, that green and those vintage retro colors, and inside the dinette looks like you're in the old 50s diner type thing. So they're kind of cool, but are they really feasible for what we're trying to do? And try to keep the weight down, and keep a very small, compact setup, yet still be comfortable. And the other thing, of course. Many of these you can put awnings on. Some have like a canopy thing that just comes out, or an awning, and then of course some have the Ataroom, which we're probably going to opt to go with the Ataroom. A lot of the awnings are pretty narrow on them, so if you put it out, it's really not covering a big area anyways. To get out of the sun. They certainly have their use, but I like the idea of the Ataroom. If we're going to stay somewhere for a while, we can slide that in. They have the little groove, the little channel that slides in. And it gives you, some space that you can be out of the camper itself. A little bit of space, it's screened in, so you don't have to deal with bugs and stuff like that. Makes it, a little bit more livable, and gives you a little bit of space outside there that's still part of your living space. So anyway, that's just a little bit about what I've found so far. I'm going to put links to all of these probably as I I'll just probably put it in the description somewhere. Again, I'm not a big typer. So thanks for swinging by all about teardrops. Please come back. Please subscribe. If you subscribe, and you'll get updates when I upload anything or put a new post up or a video up. You'll get an update about that. And thanks a lot. Have a great day.